financial freedom is not just about having money, it's about alignment with your values, which is a refreshing perspective, especially in a world that often equates freedom with the bank balance. So I'm curious, how do you personally define true financial freedom, Anthony?
Yeah, it's good you bring this up as the first question because everybody defines it differently. So, from my perspective, financial freedom, or to say to be truly free, is you need to first know your values. Because once you know your values, then you can develop that leads you to those values, and then you can seek alignment. So, having all these three things is vital. And when I say alignment, is you need to be aligned mentally, emotionally, physically, and intellectually.
Uh-huh.
So it doesn't sound easy, but actually it's a lot easier than people think. So if you just look around, there are a lot of people with lots of money, but are they truly free?
Mhm.
And a lot of these people, they just often spend money knowing that they don't need it, but need to justify why they're stuck in some kind of vicious cycle by spending more. Right. So it ends up being some kind of an addiction.
Mhm.
So they're on paper, it sounds like, oh, they're financially free because they have a lot, but they're mentally or emotionally not free.
Yeah.
So for somebody to be what I call intellectually free would be just to have the ability and skills to grow their wealth based on what you have without third party income.
Mhm.
So if I were to ask you, right, Miles, for example, would you rather have, say, $10 million just in a bank that it's not going to grow, so it's just going to keep depleting,
Mhm.
only goes down, or would you rather have, say, $6 million, but you know it'll grow or compound
Exactly.
over the time, right? Because you have the ability to grow that.
Yeah, of
And
course.
I think, yeah, so mentally it's very different. So for me, I prefer to have the lower amount and then let it grow.
Yeah, have the potential of making it bigger, of course.
Yeah, so that's more the intellectually free aspect, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just to sum everything up, for me, my definition of financial freedom changes over time, and it's normal because yeah, we're at different stages of life. And
Mm-hmm.
earlier in my life, I was just fixated on an amount.
Okay. That's so true that many people chase numbers but never stop to ask if those numbers mean anything to them personally. And speaking of personal journeys, Anthony, looking back on your own life from immigrating and overcoming early challenges, as you told me before, to building businesses across continents. Like recently, I read that you're adding the Middle East to your client portfolio. Congratulations, by the way. What experiences really shape your philosophy about money, work, and fulfillment?
Yeah, you brought up my book earlier, and then my journey because for people who have followed me for some time,
Mhm.
and they read my book, Breaking the Glass Ceiling and Inside a Memoir. Yeah, a lot of it is really just framed from my childhood experiences. So and for most people, actually, the most important values that impact our financial well-being is actually framed early on in life.
Uh-huh.
But sadly, a lot of that's not taught in school. Well, that's one reason why I started the preschool, actually.
Yeah,
In
I
my
remember.
preschool, we actually taught children the concept of money early on.
Yeah.
But for me was, yeah, so my grandparents had a huge impact on framing my values of money, work, and fulfillment early on.
Mm-hmm.
Because so we were happy growing up, but they were not free, as in they're not financially free.
Mm-hmm.
Because really, yeah, they still needed the money to make ends meet, right? But then, so for me, I was actually very privileged because I never had to go through that type of poverty or really that type of financial stress. But I was very lucky to know about it and appreciated the toils of the previous generations. So I think that's part one.
Mm-hmm.
And so the other thing was, so growing up, every time I took lessons, so my parents did spend money on me taking different types of lessons. And they would always tell me like, oh, lessons are so expensive. It costs
Yeah.
money, so don't waste time. So for me, very early on, for me, it's like time is money, and
Mm-hmm.
so I was very lucky that I knew that. So I was very focused every second. The moment I walk into a class or some kind of enrichment class, I just knew that I'm not going to waste money because it cost my parents money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so today, same thing I tell the kids. I said, stop screwing around during class. You can screw
Uh-huh.
around outside, but not during class, because
Uh-huh.
every minute that you waste costs X dollars. So my kids are, oh, okay, thinking about it. So for me, is if you want to maximize time,
Mm-hmm.
you need to have focus. which means you need to be disciplined. So I think all these things tie together. So I'm very fortunate. I am a very focused and disciplined person in general, especially when I need it. And then wasting time only means we're delaying our financial freedom. So a lot of it comes back to time.
Yeah.
Right. And then the other thing is when you talk about your question was on work so for me, work has always been a journey to learn and train myself. But it just happens that I get paid to do that. And versus before we came out to the workplace, up until college, I had to pay somebody to learn. And so for working, I always believed, I'm very happy to work because every day someone's paying me to learn. That's what do you find that opportunity, right? It's great.
Right.
And then the last thing is when you talk about your question on fulfillment, is that it's for me, it's a journey to get paid to learn, to grow, and create an impact. And then all of that allows me to pursue life that is aligned with my values and purpose.
Wow. Okay.
And part of my values is freedom, as I talked about before, right? So again, it goes back to alignment of many different things.
Yes, and that's a grounding reminder, Anthony. And that story of yours is a really great example. Many of us are conditioned to see money as the ultimate reward, when in reality, it's just often, just a tool, not actually the goal. And that brings me to something I know a lot of professionals struggle with. You can be earning well, maybe even leading teams, but still feel trapped. What do you think are the essential mindset shifts people need to break out of that cycle and start creating real freedom?
Yeah, well, it's natural to chase higher income. I think it's in our human nature that we're greedy.
Uh-huh.
But and then also then the question is when you chase the higher income, I think most people definitely care about that. It's a reflection of our value add. Also a validation. But then the issue is once we have it, we often want more of it. We want more and more validation. So once it gets out of control, then yes, as I've talked about, it becomes greed and then it leads to other things, right? Like buying things and spending more money. So on this is, I think a lot of people is just that their expenses go up a lot. And then a lot of things that were needs or a lot of things that became wants ended up being needs. So for a lot of mid to senior level professionals, they want to spend more money to justify why they're busy at work or why they have to travel a lot for work, right? So they're giving up a lot of their free time for work, for money. And so like, oh, well, I need to buy a big house. Like, oh, I need a 6,000 square foot house and 5 nice cars and fly first class everywhere because I need to justify the fact that I'm busy working, 7 days a week. But then the question is, are these things nice to have or are these things needs, right? And so often then people end up justifying like, oh, I need these things now because like, oh, I need to build a network with people. I have to present myself a certain way. Or like, oh, it's a lot. Yeah, it goes back to the mindset, right?
Yeah.
It's like a long-term investment for building a network.
Yeah.
But then I always challenge them. I said, well, if you don't really need it, well, why don't you just take that money that you spend on all these nice things and then you can just buy stocks? But then the problem is you can't flaunt it. People don't see it, right? Because at the end of the day, is a lot of these things that you do is for the experience and also for you to show people that I have a lot, right? But if you buy stocks, you just kind of put it aside. Nobody sees it.
Yes.
So it gives you a different type of validation, right? Because you don't really have the external validation if you don't, if you don't spend it on certain things or certain experiences.
Yeah.
So I always just ask people. I said, ask yourself to define and visualize what a dream life means to you, and then when you can achieve that.
Yeah.
So then afterwards, you can clearly write it out or just draw a collage of what that looks like. So some of the key questions would be like, what does money mean to you? How does money serve you? Because often we end up serving money. And then another question would be, is what you're doing today going to get you there? And the answer is, if not, what actions can you change today to help you get there?
Great question.
So these are the key. I mean, there could be a lot of other questions, but I just thought these are the more powerful questions to ask up front. And then you think about it and then you write it out, you draw it out, whatever that is, right? As you answer these questions.